Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Thomas Frank Explains. In this video, we are covering a bit of a more advanced topic in Notion, one that I've gotten quite a few requests to cover, which is adding subtask support to your task lists inside of Notion. So what do I mean by that? Well, take a look at this task list that I have here inside of one of the video projects I'm working on. I'm creating this credit card basics video for my main channel, and here in this project task list, I have all these tasks that I have to do for the video. And you'll notice some of these tasks have a little indentation arrow here denoting that they are subtasks of this task right here, write script/outline. I need to talk to my mortgage lender about some credit card mortgage effects and a few other things. They are nicely nested under their parent task, and I can check them off and their state is going to change. I can give them due dates in order to sort them, all kinds of good stuff. So we are going to be going through exactly how to elegantly set up and support subtasks in your own task lists inside of Notion. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I do want to let you know that I have added this subtask sorting support into the latest version of my task manager template, which is called Ultimate Tasks. It is absolutely free. There is a link in the description below where you can get it. And if you've already been using it, there is an upgrade guide for adding this functionality to your project area inside of Ultimate Tasks, because I feel that is the best place for sorting subtasks underneath their parent tasks inside of projects, or in the case of Creator's Companion, which is my content planning and management template, also linked below, inside of the video or blog post or podcast projects that you are running, just like I am here. So what we are going to do in this video is first go through how to even support subtasks inside of a task database inside of Notion. We are also going to go through creating a template inside your task database that will actually support subtasks, one where you can go into the task and add subtasks. We're going to go through the problem of adding default subtasks to a task template inside of Notion. I've gotten a lot of questions about that. And then finally, we're going to get into the most advanced part of the video, which is achieving this sort of sorting right here, where you have your subtasks nested underneath their parent task, regardless of the due dates of those subtasks. Finally, we're going to get this inside of our project template. And by the end of this video, you are going to be an expert when it comes to task and subtask sorting inside of Notion. A lot of people thought that this was not doable, but with some clever formulas, you can absolutely do it. Let's get started by checking out this very simple tasks table that I have here. And this is actually just a modified version of the simple tasks template that I used in my Notion grouping video. If you haven't seen that, check that out after this one. And this is what we are going to be using to set up our subtask sorting. And the first thing we have to do is create a relation inside of this database to allow for subtasks. So we're going to go here and we're going to create a brand new property. We're going to call it sub-tasks. And it's going to be a relation type property. Now, normally when you're creating a relation from a database inside of Notion, you would pick another database, so you have two databases related to each other, but you can also relate one database to itself. So I'm going to go ahead and search for the name of this very database, super simple tasks. And there it is. And now we have this option here, either create a new property, sync both ways, use this option when modeling parent task and child task. So they've actually given us this example here. You can also use the same property, which will not have any syncing between different rows. It will just create one relation column. That is not what we want here. We want to create a new property and have two separate properties for our subtask parent task relation. So we're going to create this relation with a new property. And in a couple of seconds here, we're going to get that new property popping in right next to subtasks. It may take a little bit of time. And in fact, it may not automatically show up. So I'm going to go over here to the three-dot menu, click properties, and there it is, related to super simple tasks, subtasks. I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to rename that to parent task. So now we have the relation set up that will allow us to create a parent task and subtask relationship. So let's go ahead and actually do that. We've got one task here called install A/B testing plugin. Maybe I want a subtask for that very task. So let's create a new task. Let's call it research A/B plugins, because maybe I don't know which one I want to use. So what I can do here is I can set the parent task of research A/B plugins to install A/B testing plugin. And you're going to notice when I do that, then the subtask category or a property for install A/B testing plugin gets filled with research A/B plugins. We've created this relation, so now this is a subtask of this. Now, in my Creator's Companion example with this video that I was working on, you'll notice I have these little arrows here that are denoting this is a subtask. So this is a property called state, and this is included in Ultimate Tasks, and it basically just shows the state of the task. Is it overdue? Is it currently due today? Is it due in the future? Does it have no due date? Or is it done, in which case it gets a smiley face? We also append an arrow if it is a subtask. So all we need to do is slightly append our current state formula right here. And I'm just going to write if, parenthesis empty, parenthesis prop, parenthesis, and it's called parent task, double parenthesis to close that. So basically, if the parent task property is empty, and I need to actually add a quotation there, then I want to add nothing, just a blank space. And if it is not empty, I want to add an arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my little emoji keyboard. And I should have a search bar here. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and go with this little right arrow right here. Close that off and hit a plus. So basically now I have this little tiny formula that will append this arrow if the parent task property is not empty. And if it is empty, it will just append nothing. And then I'm using the plus operator to basically append this formula onto this formula, which handles the little circles. Hitting done, I now have the little arrow in front of this symbol because this is indeed a subtask. So now let's go ahead and create a template that you can use to add subtasks within the page for any particular task. So for example, I might want to go into install A/B testing plugin and have a task list right here where I could add some subtasks. So to do that, I'm going to come over to this little blue arrow in the corner here, and I'm going to create a new template. And let's just call this task with subtasks. And what we're going to do here is add a linked database, and the database is going to be the super simple tasks database that we are working on. So I'm going to hit slash, I'm going to type linked to get the linked database option, and I'm going to search for super simple tasks. So now, without any filters, I'm going to see exactly what I see over here, or at least all the tasks. They're not sorted the same way, but what I want to do is create a filter criteria that's only going to show subtasks of this task. And when I create a new task in here, it is going to become a subtask of this task. So to do that, I'm going to create a filter. And the filter is going to be where parent task contains, and we need it to be the name of the template. So when I'm setting the name of the template here, this takes advantage of something in Notion called self-referential filters, which means that when I create an instance of this template, when I create a new copy of it and give it a specific name, the filter is going to be updated to that instance's name. So for example, if I created, and I can actually show you, if I go into install A/B testing plugin, and I generate an instance of task with subtasks, we're going to get a self-referential filter update. You'll notice here that the filter has been updated to install A/B testing plugin. This is one of the most useful features when you're building more advanced workflows inside of Notion. And you'll notice that because of this updated filter, we now see our research A/B plugins inside of this task list. We can also create another one. So let's see, talk to Andrew about best plugins. My friend Andrew knows about these kind of plugins. And when we come back to our actual task database, we do have a filter in here that we need to get rid of, which is the status is not empty. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove that. We can see our subtask has popped up right here. Now, one thing that I've been asked about by a lot of people is how do I get default subtasks into my task with subtasks template? And that is a very legitimate use case. For example, over here in our video project manager, we want a lot of these subtasks, or at least the tasks, to be inside of this database here when we create an instance of the template. We always have to cut the A roll. We always have to send the ad preview. We always have to add final updates. All of this stuff happens with basically every single video. So it would be great if we could just have these tasks in here the moment we create a new instance of that template. But watch what happens when I try to do that. If I come back over to my task with subtasks template, I edit it, and I add a default subtask in here. We're just going to call it default subtask. It's here inside of the template, but when we create a new instance of the template, so let's go to buy Skyboard as an example and generate from task with subtasks, we are going to see that default task right here, but notice that it is the exact same task that is inside the template itself. If I click done, we notice that it is marked done here, and it's also going to be marked done inside the template. And that is because there is no way inside of Notion to create an instance of a template and have that action actually create new rows in a database that are separate from this page. So what happens instead is if I open this, you'll see this default subtask simply gets another parent task, another relation to that brand new created row that was generated from our template. And that's not very useful. There is, however, a workaround, and it's one that we use every single time we work on a video in Creators Companion. So I'm actually just going to show you how it works in our version of Creators Companion. Here we have a video with all of these default subtasks already there. Let's go and find another video where we haven't yet put in those default tasks. So I'm just going to go to this 10 money rules I live by video that I'm working on here. And right now our project tasks database is empty because we haven't added anything. But what we have beneath it is a little toggle called default video tasks. And this is just a simple checklist. Now this checklist has a red outline around it because it's a synced block. I actually have it living inside of our company wiki, not inside the template, so it's easily changed. And what we can do is click and drag to highlight all these, and then hold the Alt or Option key, depending on what OS you're on, drag these into the database, and by holding Alt or Option, we're gonna copy them instead of moving them. Don't remove my sorting, and now I have my default subtasks. So it does take a little bit of extra time, but it's like an extra 5 seconds, and now they're there, and they are their own unique rows. Next challenge, how do you get your subtasks to sort themselves beneath the parent task inside of Notion? This is quite a bit harder than it seems, because if you come in here and you sort simply by due date, then even if you set a due date that is the same as the parent task, so the parent task here is install A/B testing plugin, which is due December 7th, even if we set that as due December 7th, and we set this one as due December 7th, it might go underneath install A/B testing plugin, or it might go underneath another non-parent task, but still top-level task, like Organize Office, that happens to be due the exact same day. And it gets even worse if this is due, like it often will be, before the parent task. Often your subtasks are due before the parent task can be actually marked due. So how do you solve this problem? Well, we can do it with formulas. Specifically, we're going to do it with 4 different formulas. And I'm going to link to this page in the description so you can simply copy these as I'm going to do, and 1 rollup. So the first one we need to create is called subseed. And I'm just going to copy this here, but I will explain essentially what I'm doing. Subseed is a term that I made up, but it is essentially a formula property that we're going to create. And all subseed is there to do is to be a marked checkbox for anything that is not a subtask. So basically we want to differentiate between parent tasks and subtasks. You could also potentially use the state formula here and look for the presence of the arrow and be a little bit more elegant about it, but I'm just going to create a brand new property called subseed. Next, we want to create a property called subseed name. So subseed name is a formula. So we're going to create a formula here. And its purpose is to pass the name of the parent task to the subtask. And it looks like it's not going to work because the property task is not found. We actually need to rename this to name in this case because I didn't name the name property task. If I actually change that to task, it's going to update here and I'll be good to go. Now the reason I need to do this is because I need a single property that is either going to have the name of the parent task if it has a parent task, or it's going to have its own name if it's not a parent task. So essentially, install A/B testing plugin is going to have the name install A/B testing plugin because it doesn't have a parent task. But talk to Andrew about best plugins is going to have install A/B testing plugin. We have a single property that always pulls the name of the parent task unless there is no parent task, in which case it pulls its own name. This is very important for comparing the due dates, which we are now going to work on. So the next one we need is a property called due timestamp. Essentially, we need to take the due date and convert it to a timestamp, which is just a Unix timestamp. It's how many seconds have passed since a day in, I believe, 1972, which was basically picked by a bunch of computer nerds, and we use it in all kinds of areas. So due timestamp, that's going to be another formula, and we can go ahead and paste that right there. This is a very simple formula because Notion has a built-in timestamp function. So we're just passing the due property to the timestamp function and hitting done. And lastly, we need to create a rollup called parent due timestamp, and finally a formula called due stamp parent. So essentially, what we need to do is get the due timestamp of the parent task for any subtasks. So parent due timestamp, This is going to be a rollup property, and I'll be covering rollups in future videos, but essentially they allow you to reach through your relations to get information about other rows. And when we come in here, we can select a relation, and that is going to be parent task. And then the property we're pointing to with the parent task is going to be that do timestamp formula property. We're going to show original. So for any task that is a subtask, which is going to be these two, this will be pulling the timestamp of their parent task. And lastly, we need another formula called do stamp parent. And the reason we need this is, again, for comparison purposes. So we're going to call this do stamp. This is going to be a formula. And we will paste this here. And again, the reason we need this is because this is going to either display the task's own timestamp, which again is its due date, if it is a top level task, i.e. it doesn't have a parent task. But if it is a subtask, it is going to display the timestamp of its parent task. So this will all make sense once we start creating our sorting criteria. So to review, we have the subseed property, the subseed name property, the due timestamp, a rollup called parent due timestamp, and then another formula called do stamp parent, which is just pulling all the timestamps in. So finally, we can create sorting criteria that will ensure our subtasks are always nested nicely beneath their parent tasks. So to do that, the first sort criteria we want is do stamp parent, and we want that in ascending order. Next, we want the subseed name, and this is going to ensure that tasks actually go beneath their parent task instead of another parent task that happens to have the same exact due date. Next, we want to sort by the subseed, and we're going to go ahead and sort that in descending order. This simply ensures that the parent task is always above the subtasks. And finally, we're going to sort by due, which will nicely sort these subtasks in their due date order beneath their parent task. So now you can see we have install A/B testing plugin, due December 7th, 2021, and nested beneath it are both of the subtasks that we created, even though this one has a earlier due date than its parent task. The last thing we're going to cover is showing this subtask sorting inside of projects, because one thing you'll notice about these subtasks is they do not have a project relation. So install A/B testing plugin. If we go into it, we can actually see that its project is sales page redesign. But just because these tasks are subtasks of this task here, they do not automatically get that project. Their project relation is empty, which means if I come down to this little hidden assets thing that I used to get all this stuff out of the way, if I come into the sales page redesign project, I'm not going to see those subtasks sorted beneath their parent task here, which is kind of exactly what I want. So to fix that, all we need is one additional rollup, and it is going to be called parent project. So we're just going to create a parent project property over here. We're going to select the rollup type, and finally, we are going to set the relation target as the parent task, and the property is going to be the project. So we're reaching through a relation to look at yet another relation. And now that we have that parent project rollup, we can come and we can modify our filter criteria to say where the project contains sales page redesign, or, and I'm actually going to turn this into a group just so it's very easy to see, or where parent project contains sales page redesign. And again, you would want to go into your template and set up a self-referential filter for both of these filters right here. Now we're going to see both of those subtasks, but first I'm going to go ahead and drag my state property over here so it's very easy to denote what is a subtask and what is not a subtask. I need to recreate my sort criteria. So all I need to do is come in here and do that really quick. And Bob's your uncle, we have the subtasks related to the project tasks inside of the project, even though they do not have a direct relation to the project itself. Now, due to the limitations of rollups, note that I can't go any further than just these two levels. We can't do subtasks that are going to easily show up inside of projects without some crazy finagling that's going to be very easily broken. So for now, at least, I believe that a single level of subtasks is all we can really manage inside of Notion without compromising on other functionality that we're definitely going to want. So that is pretty much everything you need to know about subtasks inside of Notion right now. Hopefully this was clear and easily followed for you guys. I know this is a pretty advanced tutorial, but I tried to make it pretty step by step. And like I said at the beginning of the video, my ultimate tasks template for Notion, which is free and what I personally use for my own task management, now has this feature inside of the project area. So when you create projects, you can actually add subtasks to the tasks inside of them, and you'll see them nicely sorted beneath their parent tasks. This feature is also in Creator's Companion, which is my advanced template for managing social media content, blog posts, YouTube videos throughout the entire production pipeline. It is exactly what my team and I use for managing all of my YouTube channels, my blogs, and basically every piece of content that we create, from the idea stage to the project management stage to the archiving and analysis stage. So you can check that out over at thomasjfrank.com/cc, and I'll have all the other useful links in the description down below. Thanks as always for watching. Follow me over on Twitter at TomFrankly if you haven't done so already, and especially if you do have a question. I am much more responsive on Twitter than I tend to be in YouTube comments. I do check comments below, so if you do have a question, you can use that if you want, but Twitter really is the best place. If you're looking for something else to learn about Notion, right here you'll find a video on forcing functions, which is something that we actually demonstrated in this video. It is a fundamental database design technique, so check that out, or check out one more video right here. YouTube is going to recommend it to you.